Watch guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm not on the bank, I'm in my back garden, and I thought I'd do a little video about something that's been bothering me. Recently been looking through social media on Facebook and what have you, and you see the odd picture on sites where someone's proud as punch holding up their PB 20 pounder. Now looking at some of the photos, they don't look 20 pounds, and you get a wave of negative comments of people going, "No, it's not 20 pound, this is 20 pound. It's twice the size of your fish," you know, and all these sort of negative comments going on. And now don't get me wrong, I know some photos of fish can be deceiving. You know, you could hold a fish one way or another. If you hold it closer, you look smaller, look bigger, you hold it out, etc. So I know that can have a big effect on the way a fish looks. But there have been occasions when I've been on the bank and I've been fishing near people and they've caught a fish and I've looked over, you know, gone over, seen what they've got, think, you know, 16, 18 tops, and then the next minute they came around like saying they've had a 23 pounder. When I know for a fact it wasn't. I've seen the fish myself and my own eyes. And again, I know some fish are deceptive, don't get me wrong, but there's times when I'm sure people are being deceived by their scales and the way they're weighing their fish. First of all, when you're weighing a catch, make sure you've got a decent set of scales. Don't go down Argos and buy a set of scales for £5. Get a decent set from a tackle shop or online. Make sure they're, you know, from a reputable company and you've got faith in them that they're going to be correct. So that's the starting point number one. I'm going to be using these Reuben Heaton scales. They're fairly new, so I've got every faith that these are proper accurate. What I'm going to do to test the weight of my fish, it's not actually a fish, it's a bin bag with some dog food in it and an unhooking mat. And I know because I quickly weighed it earlier, it weighs about 23 pounds. So I think that's a pretty good weight to do this test with. What I'm going to do, I want to see how much variation I can get in my fish's weight by weighing it in different situations and using different methods on the same scales. Okay, so let's get started. So as you can see, I've got a set of Reuben Heatons and I've got them hanging on this post just to make the video easier. Normally if I'm fishing, if it's, you know, under 20 pound, I'll hold it by hand. Anything bigger, I'll get this weighing crook and you can put the scales on there like so. Hold it like so, keep the fish over the unhooking mat, and yeah, it just helps keep it steady, and just make sure the back of the pole is not going to slip on the ground. So really good, you know, just a bit of kit screws into a landing net handle, and that's what I use on the bank. But for now, I'm using what I've got in my garden. Okay, to start with, I've got this set up incorrectly at the moment. I've got the scales zeroed, which a lot of people think is good, but they're zeroed without anything actually on the hook. Doing this for a reason, it's all part of the experiment. I want to see what happens. And like I say, I want to see what the variation is between different ways of getting this set up and how you're weighing it, to see what the range of weight we can get. Obviously we want to get this as accurate as possible, so let's see the best way of doing that. I've got a weigh sling. Now this is dry, which is a no-no, I know, don't shout at me, but it's all part of the experiment. So I want to see, using this dry sling for a 23 pound fish on the zeroed scales with nothing on the hook, how much this fish weighs. I'll hoist that on, like so. Now then, I don't know if you can see that. It's saying 26. It's literally like 26 pound and an ounce. I'd say that was. It's literally just over the 26 pound mark. So that is weighing the fish in a dry sling on a zeroed scale with nothing on it. 26 pound, 1 ounce. Okay, so that's weighing 26 pound, 1 ounce. So let's just see what happens if we zero the scales properly. So I'll take the fish out there. Out the sling. Now then, I'll say zero properly. This is still dry, which is still a no-no. I know. Don't start. Right, so we'll zero that down. There you go. That's zeroed. Dry sling. Now let's just see how much this fish actually weighs. This should give us the true weight of the fish. Okay, so that is £23 exactly. So we're adding another £3 and 1 ounce on for the weight of the sling, the dry sling on its own. So yeah, so it's £23 exactly. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to wet the sling, soak it up, and we'll see what the variation is from a dry versus wet sling. Now again, always use a soaking wet sling to weigh your fish. Don't put a fish straight into a dry sling ever. It's not going to do the fish any favours. So make sure this is soaking wet before fish comes anywhere near it. Proper dunk it in the lake, and yeah, just make sure it's thoroughly soaked. So always wet this. I can't emphasise it enough. Soak this before fish comes anywhere near it, and then we're going to zero the scales again in a bit. But let's see what happens now. So I'm going to go back to a zero scale. Let me just go and soak this. Okay, so now I've got a soaking wet sling. Let's do the same again and see what the variation is. So I'm starting with the scales zeroed, again with nothing on the hook. Wow. So if you can see that, that is now weighing £27 and 2 ounces. So a pound and an ounce heavier just with the water in the sling, which is quite surprised at that. I knew it was going to be heavier, but I didn't think it would be that much heavier. So there you go. Same fish from a low 20 to a high 20. Interesting. So you can see where I'm going with this. It's easy to incorrectly use the scales unintentionally, but to get different readings. That's one variation. Let's do it properly again. So we've got a soaking wet sling, which is weighing just over £4 2 ounce, that is. Let's get that zeroed. Okay, soaking wet sling on the scales, zeroed up. Okay, so I've got the fish in the wet sling, I'm going to hoist it up. In theory, it should be £23. Yeah, it's hovering around the 23, it's going up and down with the movement. So yeah, £23, which is what we were expecting. Now when you're weighing the fish, it's very important you use the scales properly. Now each set of scales probably got its own instructions. Now Reuben Heaton's, when you buy them, come with instructions that you've got to hold by that loop at the top. So you can hang it from that loop, you can use a crook like I showed you earlier to hold it, or you can use your fingers or your thumbs. But that is how this has got to be held. If you hold it like that, you get a untrue reading. So and it's easy to hold it like that because you've got nice sort of natural way to hoist it, but that's going to give you a false reading. Now that's the same probably with most scales. I say probably, I don't know all the scales out there, but check your instructions and always hold a set of scales by the loop or the hook at the top and not by the body, because you're going to get a false reading. So it'd be interesting to see exactly how off that reading will be if I hold it like that, and I see a lot of people on the bank holding it like that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when I pick this 23 pounder up and hold it in the wrong way. Okay, I'm already getting, it's 23, I say it's 23.7, holding it like that. If I hold it at a slightly different angle, I'm getting over 20. So if I hold it with the face backwards like that, I'm getting over nearly 26, yeah, 26 pound. See, that's over 26 pound holding it like that. So what we found out today is by using the same scales and the same sling and the same fish, we're getting a variation from between 23 and nearly 27 pounds. So yeah, make sure, so I can't emphasize enough, soaking wet sling on the hook, holding the scales correctly and zeroed with the wet sling on. It's the only way to do it. Nothing new to me, I've always weighed my fish like this, always. So I'm trying to help people out there that may not understand the complexities and the variations that you can get. So, and again, I do that every time I catch a fish. Even though it might only be like an hour or so since I've had the last one, I still check the sling is zeroed every time, just to make sure it's not been knocked and you know, been adjusted in any way, shape or form. So yeah, hope that helps, and I'll see you next time, hopefully on the bank.